Back to another Big Men on Campus college football preview video. Today we are continuing to take a look at week 9 in college football. We'll take a look at Minnesota, the hot Minnesota Golden Gophers hosting Maryland. We'll break it down for you in just a second. Joe Duffy joining me here live again. We just went over Notre Dame and Michigan. Make sure you check that out. Joe, Minnesota, 17-point favorites here, a total of 56. Last week, Minnesota, who is 7-0, Joe. How about that? Definitely a nice start to the year as far as who they played. Really haven't played anybody worth talking about as of yet. They're not going to get much of anything this week either. Minnesota off a win and cover against the lowly and pathetic Rutgers Golden Knights, a game that I actually laid the number in, and it was an easy casher, Joe, and to me, the easiest bet of the weekend. Do you trust Minnesota here? And A, do you trust them laying such a big number? Maryland had some success early in the season. We obviously know they started out 2-0, and Joe, I actually had people in my DM asking me if I thought that Maryland could go to the Final Four. Wow. Again, that didn't actually work out very well since then. I believe they've only won one game in their last 5, I believe. It's been a tough season for them. But Minnesota, this is uncharted territory. They're not a team that generally lays big numbers, but they're coming off a big-time road win, laying a big number. Now they're back at home, a place they've been very good at, but haven't covered big numbers, just really very rarely a favorite of this level. But this offense has been good. Tanner Morgan has been a terrific quarterback. Rodney Smith, Muhammad Ibrahim in the backfield have been awesome. And Rashad Bateman, I mean, I'll tell you what, Joe, if you watch Minnesota, one thing they do at a very high level, they love slants, quick slants, hit across the middle. They have been terrific with those big plays all year. The defense has been good. They have a guy named Antoine Winfield in the secondary, son of the former Viking, Antoine Whitfield Sr. They've been terrific, Joe. Minnesota's on fire. Are you laying the number here? What are you doing?
They are. I do love the slants and the bubble screens, just getting the ball out to your playmakers. I'm going to surprise some people here. I know I've said time and time again, college football is a big momentum sport, and Maryland has dropped 4 out of 5 after starting out 2-0. Remember, they briefly were ranked when they beat Syracuse 63-20. But like you said, Minnesota is a very soft 7-0. Their most impressive win was at Purdue by a touchdown. A 7-point win over South Dakota State, 3-point wins against Fresno State and Georgia Southern. So you can't get much softer than that. Now, you are right. The last 3 games, they are dominating teams. They're outscoring teams by 113-31. And if there's any Power 5 team that really needs to be in some statement mode here, it is clearly Minnesota. They're not getting respect, so you could see how they have the motivation to run the score up a little bit. But Maryland's kind of a dangerous team. The Pegram, he's shown some flashes. It's true he does make bad decisions. Josh Jackson might be back this week. I do think if Jackson is back, Maryland has at least the option of going with a 2-headed quarterback where each guy has different strengths and weaknesses. So it's one of the things that can keep Minnesota off guard. But I do think that I always say when a team goes from the hunted or the hunter to the hunted is usually when I start going against them. The pressure is a little bit more on Minnesota. They're now getting, more and more national attention. And I know a lot of people wouldn't like the fact that Maryland, they've got a lot of young players on defense, but some baptism by fire. I think Maryland's starting to build a little bit for next year, but these guys, they have plenty to play for. They're starting to put in more young players to see what they have. So, it's not like they have a bunch of dejected players that have been getting eaten alive on defense all year. I think Maryland can be a very dangerous team. When you got those young players, they're going to get a little bit better week by week. And like I said, they got talented but mistake-prone quarterbacks, but still against a Minnesota team that has a couple of close wins this year, I do think that Maryland's going to keep it just close enough.
Joe, I rarely disagree with you. I'm going the other way here. I really like Minnesota, and I know their day of reckoning is coming.
Mhm.
One thing I'm learning about Minnesota, they haven't taken their foot off the gas. Defensively, they're one of those teams that can hang in games. They're not just all glitz and glam offensively. They don't just throw slants and run big plays. They play defense. They've been solid really all over the field. Their secondary has been good. Their pass rush has gotten there. And I just don't believe in Maryland's quarterback play. It's not been good in years. It's been a complete mess, whether it's Tyrell Pigram or Josh Jackson. In fact, I almost hope they go to Jackson. Jackson has been horrible. I mean, I don't know that he has a 55% completion percentage. He has been horrific. Pigram has 3 interceptions already this season in very limited action. I get your thought here. I'm just looking at the fact that, as you said, you got to keep your foot on the gas if you're Maryland. They know what, or Michigan, or Minnesota. I'm sorry. You got to keep your foot on the gas. At home, they've been really good. It's been a special season for PJ Fleck. I'm not really one to really buy into that, special season emotion kind of stuff, but it seemed to work for them. They're firing on all cylinders right now. And again, their day of reckoning is going to come. They're going to play Penn State. They're going to play Iowa. They're going to play Wisconsin. But right now, for me, Maryland just hasn't shown me much. This has been a team that's been blown out several different times. You look at the game against Purdue. That was a Purdue team without Rondell Moore and Elijah Sindelar. You get destroyed in that game. Indiana last week, you played well, but Indiana is not any good. Your only wins this year have come against Howard, Syracuse, and Rutgers. And I think what really hurts that Syracuse win, Syracuse has been extremely disappointing. So, outside of that, you've beaten Howard and Rutgers. Who cares? This seems to me like a 41-21 kind of game. I'll lean towards that. I'm going to disagree with you, Joe. How do you feel about that?
No, look, I understand what you're saying. As I said, the two things that really do worry me is Minnesota. Their last 3 weeks, they have been turning it up. And as I said, they have to, they do have to make some statements if they want to be the dark horse team, if they can pull off some upsets. And look, when you're 7-0, you believe that you can actually go to the Final Four. Now, whether or not that's a realistic goal, I think that's irrelevant. They certainly believe that. And I think they know they still have to impress the pollsters with impressive victories, because if they don't win, by double digits, or they don't win by 20 or more, maybe they're going to say that this was just another ugly win. But I like that. Like I said, I kind of like the predictably unpredictable part. I agree with what you're saying about Maryland. They've been mistake prone, but usually turnovers are some of the most correctable mistakes. So I do think they have a little bit of an upside there, where if they can cut down on the turnovers, they can keep it close. But yeah, as far as whether or not, this is going to be one of my biggest premium plays, probably not. Truthfully, the other pick that I gave on the other video, make sure you watch that other video. I like that play better. But I still think all in all, it's a decent percentage play to go against the team that's starting to feel a little bit more pressure.
Maryland 5-9 against the spread on the road over the last 3 seasons. Definitely keep that in mind as we head into yet another game here. I'm going to go with Minnesota. Joe going to grab the points here with Maryland and hope this one stays close. As always, thanks everybody for watching. Make sure you check out all the videos here on the channel, including Joe Duffy, who's off a great week. Joe, give a plug for Offshore Insiders before we wrap it up.
Yeah, it's been a heck of a year. Already have my college football total year. Got a wise guy in the NFL. Got a bunch of other college football winners at offshoreinsiders.com. And NBA's here. I don't know if I'm going to have any on opening night, but we got a lot of great NBA systems as well. So over the next few days, we're going to have plenty at offshoreinsiders.com.
Joe, as always, thanks for all the great insight. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff, for having me on.